Welcome to Advicta and our next installment. This week we'll be interviewing Tyler Bernardini on leadership. Tyler studied at both the University of Penn and Loughborough University and played professional basketball, both in Italy and the UK. He retired in 2018, having captained the Leicester Riders to a record 3 National League championships. He is now working at Morgan Stanley in London within fixed income sales. Tyler, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Tell me about your sporting background and what age did you know that you wanted to make a career as a professional athlete?
My sporting background goes back pretty far. I'm going to go as far as to say 5, 6 years old, where I was enamored with all sports. I played everything I could: American football, baseball, clearly basketball, and a bit of swimming. And as time went on, I developed my skills. I grew a bit, which always helps. And I started to realize that sports might not necessarily be something that's just fun, but could potentially be a way to make a livelihood out of it. And then that's when it started becoming pretty exciting.
And growing up, who were your role models that cultivated your style of leadership?
I looked at it in a few different ways. I think I had the people I looked at from an arm's distance away, the tenacious sports leaders like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, these guys that not only did they demand the most out of their opponents because of how skilled they were and how much they dominated their game with their overall presence, but also the way in which they cultivated the group around them. You could tell that they looked like they had command of not only their own game, but of their own team, and they could really kind of rise or lower the level of play based on what they brought to the overall group. And I think I looked at that and was pretty fascinated about how one person can have such an impact. And then as I started to go through my own career, I had an incredible high school coach who was incredibly focused on every detail. He was at times a bit laborious and a difficult person to play for, but the lessons that you learn from playing with somebody that had that kind of focus and attention on every little thing pays dividends later on. And then in college, I had a coach who was an incredible leader, but in a very different way. He had charisma that not only was infectious for our group and for our team, but also around the entire community. And you see how a leader like that could really kind of pull a group along because of the value you feel like he brings to the entire team, community, as I said. And I think when I looked at both of those people, I've tried to emulate a combination of a tenacious and incredibly focused and detailed approach to everything I do, but also in a way in which I want to cultivate the people around me, make them feel good, and make them think that and believe that I have belief in them and I value their overall input to the group.
Moving on to your time at Leicester Riders and the enormous success of the team, what were the core pillars that were adopted in building a winning culture?
Well, I think first off, I walked into a situation that had a really good infrastructure. We had a coach that had been there a long time and already instilled a lot of his values. I think we had a group of players that were quality people. Not only were they skilled, but I think they were good people. I think they valued relationships and they cared about one another. And then I think what I was able to bring to the table was a little bit of what I took from my previous 2 coaches. I'm very focused. I work incredibly hard, and I was able to bring a different set of habits and a different set of focus to the day-to-day. But at the same time, I think I also came in and wanted to cultivate a situation to where not only do we work hard, but we also care about one another off the floor. And I think when we were all able to get on the same page and realize that not only are we here to win, but we're also here to take care of each other and make sure we are kind of brothers in that way, I think we were able to really create something that was sustainable, particularly over the long run.
You know, everyone talks about the parallels of sports and business. And now that you're in the workplace, what specific lessons from sport do you feel could be utilized by managers to create a high-performance environment?
Yeah, I think it's an incredible point. Now having crossed over and being on the business side, I see that there are a number of different ways where you have elements, particularly in leadership, that transcend not only business, but relationships, and in all walks of life. particularly when I think when you look at sport and you look at the way business kind of fits into it, I think leadership tends to be role defined in a lot of ways. And I think that leadership comes in a lot of different ways. The captain isn't necessarily the best player. He is generally that's able to kind of rally his troops, that kind of demonstrates leadership qualities. But really, it's what that captain and what that leader expects for the rest of his group. So every individual beneath him, they all have to conduct themselves in a way in which as if they were the leader themselves, as if they were the captain, because at the end of the day, you are only as good as the sum of your parts. And I think in business, a lot of times, the role-defined type of leadership that comes, you kind of get lost a little bit of the translation into leadership into the different levels of the overall corporate hierarchy. And I think, secondly, you look at the collectivism that exists in sports, where daily you're focused on having a good practice, winning games, winning championships. You have season after season, and you have these kind of cycles to where everyone's able to focus on singular goals. And I think a lot of times when you move into the corporate world, where you're focused on deal by deal and personal accolades, you're focused on your end of year bonus for your own personal compensation. And I think it's fair enough. We all want to get compensated to take care of our family. But I think in a lot of ways you lose some of that collectivism that exists in sports. I think finding ways to be able to harness that kind of feeling and that attitude not only will create an overall more positive workplace, but I think those type of synergies will end up yielding better results.
Well, Tyler, thank you for your time. It was absolutely fascinating getting your perspective, hearing about your background, and getting your advice. So best of luck for the future, and really, really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Happy to share.
Thank you.